up. I'll be very brief. I'm actually in Venice. I'll just say 4 quick things about geopolitics and where we are, focusing particularly on the Eastern Mediterranean. The first, you mentioned the Turkish special report, the special report we did on what we call Turkey's looming dictatorship. And we are concerned about the direction Turkey is taking, particularly in the run-up to the May 14th presidential election. There's been a long trend of Tayyip Erdogan moving in an autocratic direction, trying to imprison opponents, censoring the internet, intimidating journalists. And we think that there is a genuine risk this year that he could tip over into more open autocracy, dictatorship, whatever you call it. And that is worrying, obviously. It's particularly worrying, my second point, in the foreign policy field. Turkey is a member of NATO, as we all know. But under Erdogan, it has become less and less friendly to the West, shall we say. Erdogan has failed to condemn Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. He seems to be on the verge of making up with Syria, with President Assad, and his general approach has been to blame the West rather than Russia over the Ukraine war, and that's very unhelpful for a NATO country. That's my second point of concern. Third point of concern, obviously this matters particularly where you are, Tom, and my fellow colleagues, in the Eastern Mediterranean. The arrival of gas and energy in the Eastern Mediterranean, it ought to be a boon to the region, but the role of Turkey is making it sometimes seem more difficult than without the gas. And I think that makes a difference and is a matter of geopolitical concern. I think as he becomes more autocratic, Erdogan's attitude to the problem of Cyprus is unhelpful. He seems not to be interested in trying to solve the Cyprus problem. And indeed, some of the people around him think that he would prefer to annex what is called the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus rather than stick to the agreed attempt to have a bicommunal, bizonal federation. That's my third point. And my last point, obviously, some of you know much more about it than I do, but all of this is a particular concern for Greece. We know that Erdogan does not accept the Greek ownership, if you like, of the island of your problem with pronunciation, Castellonzo. Castellarico, yes. And he indeed doesn't really accept Greece's ownership of several of the islands that are nearby. He has said we may suddenly come in the night. He has even said he reckons he could launch ballistic missiles on Athens. Much of this has been talked about for many years. Turkish-Greek tensions are familiar, but they have a habit occasionally of boiling over, and the rest of NATO needs to watch very carefully. The worst thing in the world, in many ways, or the worst thing in our region, would be if we had an open sort of clash between 2 NATO countries. And so that's, I think, the fourth region that places like the United States and NATO should worry a lot about the direction Turkey is going in. That's my sort of 4 points, Tom.
Great. Thank you very much, John.